Hi. So I think by now everybody kind of knows that I'm a bit of a nerd. I mean, there's no hiding that, right? I mean, there's no hiding that. I'm also a gamer, and lately the gaming industry has been a little bit. I mean, gamers know this, and non-gamers are not interested. But because of everything the gaming industry did lately, gamers have been a little bit like. But then, Respawn Entertainment came along, and they were like.
Surprise, motherfucker.
And then the gaming community was like, well, after that hilarious intro, let us get into this. I'm going to talk about my approach to this sketch in a minute, but first, let me explain my relationship to battle royales and free-to-play games. I'm a 90s kid. I was used to buying a video game and playing it. No more transaction, that's it. I paid the bootlegger for the pirated version of the video game, and he gave me his home-burned CD or DVD, and that was the end of our transaction. Don't judge, I'm a child of the Eastern Europes, that's how things were working back in the 90s there. Anyways, as soon as I got a job and Steam came along, I bought most of the games I pirated as a kid. So, to return to modern days, I absolutely stay away from everything that does not subscribe to this simple transaction method. If full-price games have microtransactions incorporated in them, I usually stay away. It's a principle thing. Another thing is battle royales. I never got into them. In general, I only play multiplayer games that I know my friend group plays as well, and battle royale was never part of it. I do play the occasional Rocket League or Battlefield 4 with randos, but I rarely try out a multiplayer-only game and am totally smitten by it, taking it so far that I try to get the whole gang in on it. But I must say, Apex Legends did it. Now, if it wasn't Respawn Entertainment who did this game, I probably would not have given it a chance since I don't really trust free-to-play games. The grind becomes too much too early for my taste. But I knew Respawn did the early Call of Duty games and also Titanfall, and I adored Titanfall 2's campaign. So I went ahead and downloaded Apex. And boy was that a good decision, from the simplicity of the menu, onboarding and starting a game to the fluidity of movement and excitement of the gunplay, everything feels just spot on. I also love the fact that it's a 3-player co-op group. I'm really not that good in online shooters, so I am happy that I have other players who will have my back in firefights. Okay, let's be honest, it's usually me dragging down the whole team, but hey, I'm having a lot of fun either way. So, that's enough rambling about Apex, let me jump into what I'm sketching here. I chose the Pathfinder Legend because it's a robot and no one wants to see me draw anatomy, trust me. Since I never drew Pathfinder before, I decided to draw his standard pose from the menu, first to familiarize myself with it. Now, this was actually one of the best ways to draw a new character, because in the Legend selection menu you can rotate your chosen character around 360 degrees. So even though I wanted to keep the sketch simple and not over detailed, I could look up all the little tidbits on the actual character. I must say, this is one of the best ways to draw fan art. This is always an interesting exercise for me because I noticed if I draw straight with my pen, my drawing stays much more energetic, even though it might end up a bit messier due to my construction lines. But I must admit, I like the character these loose lines add to my sketches. After I was done with my first pose, I wanted to challenge myself a bit and not just copy Pathfinder from the screen. So I went to Pinterest and looked up some interesting action mid-air poses. Pathfinder has an ability to grapple up to higher places, that's why I wanted to have him in a more airborne pose. After I found a pose that I liked, I drew a quick line skeleton of the pose and started fleshing it out with Pathfinder's robotic limbs. I always find this to be a very interesting exercise and can recommend it if you want to learn to draw specific characters. It was especially easy in this case because I could still rotate Pathfinder around and look at its different details and then apply them to the new pose. So I would definitely recommend trying this for everyone. After I was done with both poses, I threw a quick border around them and took a photo of my sketch. I drew this just before noon, so there was enough daylight in the house, but I still had to do a lot of touching up due to it being winter and natural light still not fully finding its way into my room. I usually do this by adjusting and readjusting the curves in Photoshop. I sample a darker white, point and readjust the image to that, applying masks and erasing parts that got blown out. I could do a video on this in the future if anyone is interested. After I'm done with the cleanup, I take the lasso tool and create a selection for the two poses that I will fill with a basic color. Pro tip here is after you touch down with a lasso tool, by pressing and holding Alt or Option key on the Mac, you can transform the lasso tool from regular to polygonal or the other way around. This will speed up your workflow tremendously. After I have the big shapes, I make sure to separate some of the other flat colors. This will help me later in detailing phase so I can create selections easily. From here, the tedious but necessary shading part starts. I create a shading and a lighting layer and apply light and shadows accordingly. I decided not to follow the shading from the game selection menu since the Pathfinder model there was lit from several sources. I went for a simple left lit scheme. What I did a bit earlier here is choose a metal texture that I will apply in the end. I have a set of different metal textures saved from textures.com and I just chose the one I thought fits best and put it on an overlay layer. But as I said, this comes back later in the process. The most fun part of rendering for me is doing some fun little details and adding the highlights towards the end. In this case, I really enjoyed painting the stripes on the Pathfinder chest screen, giving it that old school look. But also the little highlights on the edges are really fun to paint in. These let the painting really pop towards the end. And since I was talking about popping, I decided to use a bright complementary color in the background, which in this case, because I went with a blue-gray palette for the Pathfinder, was an orange. This was also an easy choice since this color scheme is used within the game as well. To bring everything together, I added some textures and the Apex Legends logo to the background. Well, this is all for this week's video. This was a really fun sketch for me to do and I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did, please hit that like button and leave me a comment. Also, consider subscribing if you like this sort of content and would love to see more. You can also follow me on Instagram for a whole bunch of more sketching related posts. Hope you enjoyed it and wish you a great week and see you folks next time. Bye bye!